This conference will now be recorded.
Clerk, please start the recording. Today is Wednesday, March 27th, and I'd like to call today's City Council meeting to order. Can we all please, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I mean, Clerk, can we please have roll call?
Councilmember Fox,
Present.
Councilmember Kasberg,
Present.
Councilmember Boyle,
Present.
Councilmember Leija,
Present.
Councilmember Cerveny,
Present.
Mayor Strobin.
Here. Now, and the microphones are working tonight. Look at that. This is good. Clerk, can we please have public comments from the audience?
Kimberly Elbin,
Good evening. Did I turn this on? Start my 3 minutes when it goes on, or is it on?
It is on. You're ready to
It
go.
never sounds like it. Kimberly Goheen Elbin, life citizen of Clark County, Washington, USA. So the federal spending bill will include millions of hard-earned tax dollars for Wuhan, China, for more meddling with human beings. It's also it has money and has come out with flying illegals in airplanes to any city they want to in America. They get $350 a week, cards, cars, whatever they want, our food, all that. There's a lot of people that have come in legally, and they're very proud to do so. They even want to learn English to be here. These are people, a lot of them will hate us. They live next door to us, and I want to make citizens aware of that. There are terror cells. That's been testified in Congress. They will also put hard-earned tax dollars to transgender proms. So we want to keep sexuality out of any business that we have. It's none of my business what you do, none of your business what I do. Let's just keep it in the bedroom, right? So, but what they're doing is introducing our children to this kind of stuff, and that's inhumane and evil. And we've seen this for the last 4 years. Fact is, folks, Biden is a criminal. He's a Democrat. Not to say bad things about democracy, because we are a republic that uses democracy. And it used to be a decent group of people, but now they're just following because they're brainwashed. But Biden knows exactly what he's doing. And I want to make sure that this council doesn't follow on that. And so we keep a good eye on that. Don't feel like you have to be tied into anything either. You can exempt yourselves from the GMA and a lot of things that are going on. Vancouver is a sanctuary city, so is Portland. They're now putting special people in for violent riots. I spoke on the Portland council meeting and I said, well, when I go, I suppose I'll be deemed a violent rioter. And that's how it's going to be, because we know what Vancouver, Portland, and Seattle did. They just let the people do what they wanted. And then you've got good guys over there in DC prison for being allowed to go into the people's house. Also, I spoke today at the Clark County Board of Health. They're still trying to jab children with a bioweapon. Medicine Man Melnick, he's all proud and sits up there. Thank God, God is his judge.
20 seconds.
On the, they had proclamations. On one of them, I tapped on it and it came up a double as a volunteer week. And so I mentioned that, and so they changed it. But what it was for national county's government, and they didn't want me to speak on that. I couldn't read it, and I made sure, but they still passed all that. They had a
Thank you,
proclamation
Kimberly.
for
If you could
child
wrap
abuse
that up, we'd
also.
love that. Thank you.
Our child abuse children are getting raped. We got to stop this.
Thank you, Kimberly. Any other comments, clerk?
Carmen DeLeon,
Hey y'all, nice to see you, nice to talk to you. My name is Carmen DeLeon. I was born in Sacramento, California, and I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I'm a U.S. American citizen, happy to be one. My parents immigrated here. They learned the language. They were law-abiding, tax-paying citizens and taught me to be decent and obey the law and be good. It's disappointment that the powers that be got that gate open, and we've got thousands and millions of people who hate Americans, who go through Chinese propaganda against us, and they have infiltrated this country. They have been rewarded for breaking the law, and it needs to stop. I mean, we have been invaded. I'm looking at my time. It makes me sick to my stomach because my parents did it legally, and they obeyed the laws, and I have the scars from the illegal piece of crap that came and disabled me and is still in this country, and I beg to get him deported along with it. It should be automatic deportation. If you weren't born in this country and you didn't obey any laws, you need to get out automatically. No chances. No, oh, you have 3 felonies. No, one strike. As Americans, they get 3 strikes. You're a foreigner. You know, first off, you came here illegally, and then you broke the law. So you automatically get deported. And that's just what I've been asking legislators to do since a long time ago, but I only got a little bit of time. Another one is child abuse, like she said. We've got our kids, and you know, I can't give a kid a joint, a cigarette, or some pot, a beer. I can't go do that. That's contributing to the delinquency of a minor. But yet these people can give them, have your son grow some boobs, give him a pill. Have your daughter suppress her period, don't make her a real woman. That's child abuse. That is lifelong effects of drugs that are untested and is a danger to our future generations. We are doing people a disservice by welcoming in, I'm sorry, but it is, I'll give them the benefit of a doubt. The alphabet, I call them alphabet, LBG, whatever. Well, what, 7%? Maybe even 10. That means the rest of us are about 90%. You know, so I would like to see the 90% protect the children instead of going ahead and drugging them up. And that's just another gripe. And the last thing I'm going to say is that I'm here because Vancouver, Washington, with a population of 200,000, wants to have 4 open like this. You guys, I love what you've done. Every week you talk to your people. You guys are like this with your community. And Vancouver, Washington has severed everything. 4 times a year they get an open mic. That's why you met me today, because I'm disgusted. Vancouver, Washington shut us down. Talk about taking my freedom of speech. Go ahead and kill me. I'd rather be dead.
Thank you. Clerk, any other comments?
Al Filla,
Mr. Al.
Alpilla, 152 West 15th Street. Isn't it great to live in this country where we've got a First Amendment? You know, it is. God, I love this country. Now to important stuff. Saw the chief out there. Was that this morning or was it yesterday? Directing traffic. Oh, God, doing a great job. And I call him chief because, you know,
Might as
that's
well be.
what he is, our police chief. He's a great guy. You know, had nothing but good comments. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the city center. Up there at the schools, they've got math stuff and all this stuff. A lot of it. I unfortunately wasn't able to go to a lot of it, but you know, and of course, sports season has started. Well, the weather didn't quite cooperate enough. You know, Little League didn't make it to the Panic. I really wanted to, but it just had too many stuff going on. But it's a great place to live, you know, so God bless America.
Thank you, Al. And we're watching for you at those events, Al. Isn't that what you tell us,
Taking
council
attendance.
members?
Taking attendance.
You all do, you know. Vernon did show up. You showed up.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Maria.
This is about the third time now. And when I looked last week, it was only your meeting from last night.
We put things on the reader board as they come. It is not a requirement for it to be on the reader board. We post where we're supposed to post. Sometimes other events fall in place, but we do try to have it on there.
Yeah, we do try to inform the public. Yeah. You know that, Kimberly. We try to inform the public. There's nothing being hidden or behind the scenes. Clerk, is there any other comments from the audience?
There are none from the audience.
All right. Any callers calling in, please press *6 to unmute yourself. State your name and address for the record. Okay, moving on. Are there any public comments to be read?
There are none.
So will be it. If there are no requests for any items to be removed, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Thank you, council. We do have a presentation tonight, one that I'm very proud of. And I know the city staff is, and I know the councilors will be as well. And hopefully the public. Ms. Hannah Jones will be presenting the GTH presentation. She is attending virtually. Hannah, are you with us?
I am. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council.
Perfect. Hannah, the floor is yours.
Great. Well, thank you so much. First, I'd just like to say, as Mayor Strobin mentioned, I'm Hannah Jones. I am the city's contract lobbyist. It's a pleasure to be with you all this evening, and really, truly a pleasure to be representing the city of La Center in Olympia. This was our first year working together. It was not long ago that I came before you all, I believe just in December, where we had some great conversations and talked about a vision for the future of the city. And the mayor really laid out just a great vision for that. And I'm very happy to have taken that message back to Olympia, worked with your legislative delegation to help achieve some of the goals that the city has set forth. So this is going to be a presentation on our first year together. I'm going to start, if you wouldn't mind clicking to the next slide, please.
Hannah, this is our first 6 to 7 months together. We haven't even had the year yet.
Yes, not even a full year. Our first session together. I always think of a session as a year incorrectly, I might add. Just an overview of where we're going to go this evening. I'm going to start out giving you all a very high-level perspective on what was accomplished in Olympia this session. We'll then talk about the outcomes of the city's priorities that you all sent me to work on in Olympia. Then I'll highlight some of the additional legislative issues again as a broad flyover as to what occurred this year. And then we'll talk about next steps and where do we go from here. Next slide, please. It was a short 60-day session this year. The session began on January 8th and concluded on March 7th. This is the second year in the biennium, which means that the legislature had two major tasks. The first was to consider policy and pass new bills into law, and to develop supplemental budgets. The legislature, Democrats had strong majorities in the House, in the Senate, and in the governor's office, and so they controlled the agenda and really set the policy themes that were focused on this legislative session. In addition to that, the legislature grappled with 6 initiatives that were sent to the legislature at the end of 2023, maybe early 2024. Those 6 initiatives, the legislature had 3 options. They could, one, do nothing and allow those 6 initiatives to go to the ballot. The second thing they could do is consider the initiatives as bills and make changes to them, and then offer the original version and the legislatively amended version on the ballot in November, or they could pass those initiatives as law as they were written. The legislature opted to do that with 3 of those initiatives, one regarding parental rights and education, another barring a state income tax, and the third regarding vehicular pursuits. 3 issues that have been major topics in Olympia over the course of the last few years. In addition to that, you'll notice that on this slide I have that 1,500 bills were introduced this session, and only 376 passed into law. And that's not to mention the other 1,500 or so that were introduced, probably not quite 1,500, but the other 1,000 or so that were introduced during the 2023 legislative session that were automatically up for reconsideration, automatically reintroduced at the start of session. So many bills, policies to consider. The legislature really had a lot of work ahead of them this year. Next slide, please.
Hannah, is that pretty typical for there to be that ratio of bills that passed versus that didn't?
It's very common, actually. That's a great question. We like to say that the legislative process is very swift, and it is built in a way that it often takes they usually say 3 to 7 years to get a policy passed, because the system is built to really put bills through a very rigorous process. So it is very common to see those kinds of margins at the end of a legislative session.
And this one was a short session. So at the
Yes.
legislative update, we were informed that this was a lot of bills to be seen in a short session. I think that was last week. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Thank you, Hannah. Sorry.
Of course. Let's see. Some of the major themes that were considered this session, the legislature looked at public safety, including law enforcement, recruitment and retention, public defense, vehicular pursuits, as we talked about with the initiatives. They also looked at responding to climate change and addressing more housing, the housing shortage, which was a conversation that really took off during the 2023 legislative session. And then we also saw a focus on workforce expansion in the legislature as well. The legislature adopted 3 supplemental budgets: operating, capital, and transportation. The operating budget funds agency functions and operations, and all continuous programs that the legislature prioritizes. So anything from your state agencies that was maintained in the operating budget. The February revenue forecast actually demonstrated a $1.2 billion increase from what was originally forecast when the biennial budgets were enacted in April of 2023. So they had some additional revenue to utilize. $2.1 billion in additional spending was utilized for this operating budget. And some of those investments that were made included local investments in the Basic Law Enforcement Academy and grants to local governments for housing and for homeless housing programs and services. In the capital budget, that's where you'll see the public, nonprofit construction projects. It's also where you'll see the local and community projects, which the city requested funding from. This year, there was an additional $1.3 billion additionally spent in this budget via bond capacity, the Climate Commitment Act, federal funds, the Model Toxics Control Account. There was also funding in the capital budget, and I'll say this for the transportation budget as well, contingent on the passage of one of the initiatives that will go to the ballot in November, which is I-2117, which would overturn the state's Climate Commitment Act. The Climate Commitment Act generally, just high level, allows for quite a bit of revenue to fund, to allow funding to the transportation capital budgets. And so if that initiative is overturned in November, there will be some budget implications for sure. And so there is some contingent funding where funding is not made available until January 1st of 2025, assuming that initiative does not pass. In addition, the transportation budget that funded highways and ferries and included about $1 billion in new funding. Again, Climate Commitment Act initiative contingent for some of those funding pieces, which we'll get into a bit more when we talk about the city's priorities. One One thing I'll mention about the transportation budget, which I think is important for the city to consider, is that gas tax revenues have been declining in recent years. So there has been less money for additional projects in the past. And so we will be seeing, especially what happens in November, we'll be have an interesting situation with the transportation budget, particularly as gas tax revenues are declining. Next slide, please. The city had we started out this session with one major capital ask, which was for the Wheel Club Community Center. We worked with the city's legislative delegation, the 20th district, to request $250,000 from the local and community projects in the capital budget for the community upgrades to the community center. Initially, so when the budgets are released, the Senate releases their version and the House releases their version. The Senate budget did contain that $250,000. The House budget did not. However, from what we understood, the two sides intended to buy each other's local and community projects, which is exactly what happened. And so in the final negotiated budget, the city did receive the $250,000. And that funding will be available July 1st, 2024. The second piece was, as I talked to the mayor and to Brian prior to the start of session, was a priority for the city, but we were maybe considering that ask a bit further out in the 2024 supplemental budget because it was a larger ask. So the idea was to secure $1 million for the Pacific Highway Trail shared use path. Again, as I mentioned, the context here with declining gas tax revenue in the transportation budget, we really saw from leaders in the transportation space on the transportation committee really not seeking a lot of, or not encouraging folks to submit additional projects this session in the supplemental budget, recognizing that funding was perhaps not as plentiful as it would ordinarily be in prior years. However, we did hear from your state senators that there was an interest in submitting a proposal regardless to try and get some funding for the city. The hope really is to try and keep these districts receiving money depending on the passage of the Climate Commitment Act initiative in November. What I mean by that is that the funding for the Pacific Highway Trail Shared Use Path is not available until January 1st of 2025, meaning if the initiative is passed in November, we won't see that funding go through in January. And that is just truly because there's a lot more revenue to kind of go around for some of these projects if that Climate Commitment Act passes. So I think really important. I know it's a little bit confusing, but we will need to wait and see. The money is there right now. If the Climate Commitment Act is overturned in November, meaning that initiative 2117, if that passes in November, then the city is not likely to see that $1 million. That money will go away. Next slide, please.
Is the Climate Commitment Act, does that have to do with like cap and trade?
Yes, it does.
And so isn't that supposed to generate growth for transportation and stuff like that?
Yes,
And
it is.
I don't know how to exactly explain it, but isn't it like a process where we purchase carbon taxes and things like that?
Spot on. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, and maybe I'll just add a little bit more color to that, right? Which is why this is on the ballot here. So, the general sense is that the Climate Commitment Act really has ramped up the carbon credit pricing, right? When they go to auction and they are bidding on these credits, those prices have climbed higher and higher. And there is some understanding in the public that that also may have had an impact on gas prices, which is why it is an initiative to the people to overturn that Climate Commitment Act. So that is kind of the reasoning why that it is on the ballot, even though, yes, it does generate quite a bit of funding for the state's budgets.
Thank you.
Of course. I just want to add before we move on to, the city walked away with 1.25 million in a supplemental year. That is huge. You guys really have an incredible legislative delegation. All credit to them. But I just want to underscore that these wins are really big, particularly in a supplemental year. So I just wanted to highlight that for you all. We're, of course, continuing to monitor grants and do other work on the city's behalf, but want to underscore that this was a really successful session for the city of La Center. Just some other high-level legislative issues. As I mentioned, housing continued to be an issue that was considered at the legislature. A number of bills passed, including the missing middle housing trailer bill. To really, the idea was to define more carefully a transit stop in order to build density around high transit areas. There was a proposed credit to the city, the Workforce Housing Accelerator Program, which would help administer loans to eligible organizations to help with housing for low-income households, and a couple of other bills to help with workforce housing and creating more opportunities to bring folks out of homelessness or to support those who are below 80% AMI and are still looking for affordable housing. This continues to be a theme in the legislature. We also saw public safety, the vehicular pursuits initiative. The legislature, as I mentioned, did adopt that language directly. In 2021 and in 2023, there were a couple of bills that clearly delineated a list of reasons why an officer might pursue a vehicle and engage in chase. And that list, started relatively narrow in 2021 and then was expanded in 2023. The initiative gets rid of that list really and just says that if the officer has under reasonable suspicion under the evidentiary threshold, they're able to engage in pursuit or have reasonable suspicion to believe that the driver has violated the law. So it really scaled back the two bills that had been passed in 2023 and 2021. In addition to that, the legislature also considered a bill to lift the 1% property tax cap. That was put down, I would say, in the first half of session, and so that tax cap remains. But there was some interesting discussion about about local government revenues and what that looks like, and how the legislature is continuing to talk about that. And then finally, there was a bill this session that did get across the finish line that allows cities and counties expanded authority for the use of automated traffic safety cameras. This was a greatly debated bill, but ultimately the idea is that cities and counties are now able to use school zone cameras, red light cameras, speed cameras, bus lane enforcement cameras, provided that all of the revenue from those cameras remains in the city. For populations of 10,000 and more, that revenue needs to be used for traffic safety purposes. And there is a reduction for the fine resulting in an infraction if that individual is on public assistance. So that was a major policy that passed this year as well. Next slide, please. Again, I really want to underscore how incredible the city's 20th legislative delegation is. Senator John Braun, Representative Peter Abarno, and Representative Ed Orcutt. They really kept an open door policy. They met with the mayor when he came down to Olympia to advocate for the Wheel Club Community Center. And in addition to that, they also signed on to a letter to support a city's grant request for culvert funding. So they have really been active and engaged and kept the city top of mind in their work down at Olympia. Though she is not part of the 20th legislative district, I also would be remiss if I didn't mention that Senator Rivers continues to be an incredible advocate for the city as well. Even though she was redistricted and now does not technically represent the city anymore. She continues to look out for you all in legislative session, and I had a great number of conversations with her, and just would encourage you all to thank these fine 4 legislators who advocated for you this year and in prior years as well. Next slide, please. What's next? We have a long interim ahead of us. We have until January 13th of next year to start getting ready for the 2025 legislative session. So I would say top of mind would be to please thank your legislative delegation. The work, they work so many long hours during legislative session. They have to balance so many different priorities, and in particular your legislative delegation, who are very well respected members who have a great many responsibilities. So please thank them for all of their incredible work. This session was, even though it was short, it felt quite long, and it was a lot of work for those members who were serving. Find ways to show them, find ways to show your appreciation, recognize their achievements. I would just encourage this council to do that. If you see them in public, go say hello, shake their hand, say thank you. In addition to that, legislators are going to turn their attention to a couple of things for the remainder of the summer and really up until November, which is re-election campaigns. We know that a great number of legislators have announced their retirement, so there are quite a few open seats. There are a number of legislators running for higher office, whether that's in House members moving to the Senate, or other members seeking statewide office, such as Commissioner of Public Lands, Governor, and Attorney General, and more. We also know it's a presidential year, so it's quite, and we will see a new governor for the first time in 2013. So quite a lot on the ballot this year. It's going to be a pretty robust election year here in Washington. The fiscal year ends June 30th, so funding for supplemental budgets, excluding those contingent on Initiative 2117, will be available July 1st. And legislators will start to, in addition to their reelection campaigns, many of them will start to look at what issues do they want to tackle in 2025. I would recommend that if the city has priorities that you all really care about for next session, the earlier you can start to identify those priorities, the better. Legislators start to get really busy as they're working on their reelection campaigns, as they are meeting in interim committees and talking to constituents and having lots of conversations. You really start to find that as you get closer to the start of session, many legislators already have a lot of priorities, a lot on their plate that they're going to be pursuing. So any work that we can get done between now and in the summer and have things ready to go in the fall, highly recommend, in order to make sure that we are proactive going into the 2025 legislative session.
Is this like the squeaky wheel gets the grease type of thing?
It sure is. It sure is, yes. And that brings me to my next point, which is that it may not always be the city's year to receive funding, right? You all saw a hugely successful year, even more successful if 2117 does not go through and you all are able to keep that $1 million for your transportation project. But that is exactly it, Councilmember, that squeaky wheel does get the grease. Presence in Olympia is absolutely paramount. And the key is to remain engaged, building relationships with your legislators. There is so much to do between now and the start of next session. The city didn't engage in any policy this year. I think that's totally fine. You all mostly focused on the budget aspect. If there is interest in the policy side next year beyond what the Association of Washington Cities already does on your behalf, please let us know. We, as I mentioned, it's just been an absolute pleasure to work for you all this year. When I last came before this council, my presentation, I want to say back in September or October, I talked to you all about return on investment and how being present in Olympia needs to provide you all with some sort of return at the end of each session. As I mentioned, 1.25 million coming out of your first year, not to mention a supplemental year, is a really good start. But there's so much more we can accomplish together as you all continue to build your relationships with your legislators and continue to maintain an active presence in Olympia. And we can do that together by developing a robust biennial legislative agenda. With that, next slide, please. That is my presentation for this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hannah, I just want to tell you thank you. It has been a pleasure working with you. I know Brian and the staff feel it the same way. We know that you worked very hard up there in Olympia on our behalf. In the 6 months or 7 months that we've had you, and the cost of something less than $36,000, we were awarded $1.2 million. I got to tell you, my hat's off to you for the work that you're doing up there, and to the council for approving this and making this happen. So thank you very much, Hannah.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Ms.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah, for all your work. I think we, us little guys, need all the support we can get. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Any questions for Hannah? I do want to let you know that she did offer to drive down from Seattle to give this presentation in person, but I told her that wouldn't be necessary, that virtual would be just fine, so she can enjoy her family after being gone from them for the last 2 months during ledge session. So just be aware of that. Thanks again, Hannah.
Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you all soon.
All right. We do have a resolution tonight. Resolution 2024-475, legislative session. A resolution honoring the 20th legislative delegation and Senator Ann Rivers for their work during the 2024 legislative session. This is going to be a tongue twister, just so you know. Whereas Senator John Braun, Representative Peter Abarno, and Representative Ed Orcutt represent the city of La Center in the 20th legislative district in Olympia and have enthusiastically supported La Center's legislative priorities throughout the 2024 legislative session. And whereas Senator Ann Rivers historically represented the city of La Center in Olympia, yet remains an enthusiastic and dedicated supporter of La Center's legislative priorities, and whereas the efforts put forward by La Center's legislative delegation resulted in a successful request from the supplemental capital budget for $250,000 to support necessary retrofitting and upgrades to the Wheel Club Community Center. And I did say Wheel Club, Al, so you hear that. Whereas the efforts by La Center's legislative delegation resulted in a successful request from the supplemental transportation budget for $1 million to support the La Center Pacific Highway Shared Use Path, which will close a gap in the pedestrian and bicycle network between downtown La Center and new medium and high density residential development. And whereas each legislator displayed active partnership with the city by maintaining an open door policy, and were thoughtful, supportive, and gracious when meetings were requested and through communication from La Center on legislative matters. And whereas the city would like to express genuine gratitude for the hard work and success throughout the 2024 legislative session by La Center's legislators to improve our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of La Center as follows. The City of La Center thanks each member of the 20th Legislative Delegation, Senator John Braun, Representative Peter Abarno, Representative Ed Orcutt, and Senator Ann Rivers of the 18th Legislative Delegation for their efforts and extraordinary teamwork in Olympia during the 2024 legislative session. This resolution shall be effective immediately upon its adoption by City Council. Do you want to vote on that?
Do I have to?
Do I need to vote on that one?
Sure.
All right. Oh, yes. I'm seeing something.
You don't need a roll call.
Just a vote.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Thank you, council. Thank you, everyone. It was very successful. We appreciate everyone's hard work. Next up is the mayor's report. And tonight, for the first time in a year, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Yeah, For the first time in a year. I know it's longer than that. I could see Maria and Brian both laughing about that. We'll have lots to actually announce at the next meeting, just so you know. So with that, the attorney's report, Mr. Bronson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. There's nothing remarkable to report on in terms of the city legal business tonight, but I do want to make you aware of a case that the U.S. Supreme Court issued 12 days ago. And this has to do with government officials who have personal Facebook pages or other social media pages and comment on government business on those pages. And so there were two cases that came before the Supreme Court. One came out of Michigan, and that case involved a city manager who had a personal Facebook page, and he had his family photos and your typical Facebook stuff. I don't do Facebook, so I'm not speaking from real personal experience here, but most of the stuff, 80% of what he had on his Facebook account was personal items, but he also commented on city business. And there was a person who the court described as a gadfly who chirped at the city manager and criticized him and what the city was doing. And the city manager ended up blocking this person from his Facebook page. There was another case out of California with two school board members, similar situation. They had Facebook pages. They commented on school business on those pages and received some criticism and ended up blocking people. So these lawsuits were brought by the people who were blocked, and they claimed under a section of the Civil Rights Act called 42 U.S.C. 1983 that their First Amendment rights to free speech had been violated by being blocked from the Facebook sites. And under 42 U.S. 1983, we call these in the legal business 1983 actions, but to have liability for a violation of that statute, the person who violated your constitutional rights has to have been acting under color of state law. And so in these cases, the issue before the Supreme Court was whether or not on a personal Facebook page, when I block somebody, am I acting under color of state law? What the government officials urged the court to do was saying, well, this isn't a government account. This isn't a government website. That should be the end of it. It's not state action. The people who were suing said, no, you're talking about city business. You're talking about school board business. And you're blocking me. This is state action. And so as long as it's about government stuff, it should be state action and you should be potentially liable. So what the Supreme Court did was they sort of struck a middle ground. And they said, is it personal? Is it state action? That's hard to tell. We're not going to create this bright line. If it's on government website, it is. If it's about anything about government, it is. We're going to look at the facts specific to the case. And they said, we're going to look at two things. One is, are you authorized by your government agency to speak on behalf of the agency? Do you have that actual authority? And so they might look at job descriptions. In the case of council members, you probably have the authority to speak on behalf of the city. Somebody who's a maintenance worker probably doesn't, and there's probably a lot of shades of gray in between those two. But so that was point one, was do you have the authority to speak on behalf of the agency? And then two, when you were speaking, were you exercising that authority?
Right.
Okay.
Or was it your opinion?
And so that second point, the court gave you some real clear guidance. And I'm going to say what the court said. Here, if the city manager's account had carried a label, i.e. this is the personal page of James R. Freed, he would be entitled to a heavy presumption that his posts were personal and that the page was not his official act. Okay, so if you're going to post about city business on a social media site, the Supreme Court's telling you, hey, make it clear that this is your personal page, not a city page, and that the opinions or what your statements are your personal statements and not the statements of the city. And if you make that clear, that goes a long way for us to decide whether or not this is state action or not, and whether or not there's potential 1983 liability or not. Okay.
And I'm guessing if we just share something that the city posts and we don't, we're just encouraging people to either come to a meeting or, fill out the survey, that we don't need to say anything because we're not really sharing it. We're just sharing information the city already shared.
Yeah,
Right.
no, that's
not policy.
totally different.
Yeah, I would assume so. I just want to make sure because that's pretty much, I do that. So I'm just making sure that.
Just to clarify though, this is also for if you were about to give an opinion of an ordinance that was coming up, it would be personal as long as you stated it
I
as
see.
personal. As long as it's your
Okay.
personal opinion.
Right, that makes sense.
It's not an action or how
It's
you're
not
doing
state
things.
action.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
That
that's
makes
right.
sense. That makes sense.
So just
Okay.
keep that in line or in mind, council, when you guys are posting.
I would think it would be similar, like when you're talking to somebody in person, you could say, oh, this is my, we're talking about this, but this is my opinion that I think how it should go. You should do that online as well. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I
Something
think
that-
a way to think about it is that, everybody has their right to free speech, but not everybody has the right to be a city council member or a school board president or a police officer or a nurse or these things. So when you accept that responsibility and that role, you just have to know that things change. You're going to be held to a different standard.
Yeah, and when you accept the role of council member or police officer or whatever, you don't give up your own personal First Amendment rights. You still have a right to free speech. You still have a right to editorialize, but you just need to make it clear that this is your personal action, not that of the city.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That's all I have
Clear and
there.
concise for once. I like it.
Okay.
Thank you, Bronson. Any other questions for the attorney?
Nope.
All right, council comments. Councilmember Fox.
Hi, good evening. Good to see everyone. Happy spring. It's nice to see more sun and some blue skies than mostly rain, but nice to see the flowers blooming that we planted. That's great. I just had a thought of maybe putting together some thank you cards for the legislative delegates. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Like, I think it would be a nice touch because it is a huge win for us. And I think that us kind of getting into this game is really big and we don't have a lot of money to kind of play. And so I think that the money that we do have and we're choosing to use it wisely and we're getting such a good, feedback from that. I think it would be maybe a nice touch if I put that together and we can all kind of just sign them and I can envelope them. And does that sound good to everyone? I think that'd be nice. I just think.
Dollar store cards.
What's that?
Dollar store cards.
No,
Okay.
no.
I'll
not
pitch in.
those. No, but I think it would be a nice touch. So yeah, just a thought. I'll take care of that. Maybe you can help me with the addresses. Yeah, if I don't know exactly
I
where to
have
send them.
cards in my office you can
Oh.
pick up.
Oh,
yeah.
great. Awesome. Cool. And thank you, Nelda, for this. This is, what? Oh. No, it's okay. I was just going to say she has a business card where it says, well, it's not business card, volunteer extraordinaire. I mean, how cool is this? We have somebody around La Center that has a business card in her purse that says La Center, Washington, Nelda Perryman. Is this a picture of your cat? Oh, do you have this? Not your turtle though. Oh, that's so cool. Well, I mean, we're very lucky to have this group and people like her. That's so cool that do so many great things. And also we had a council retreat last night. That went really well. Had a lot of great talks about things in the works. And I just want to say we have a great team and we're very blessed here in La Center to have this collective of knowledge and just the things that we have coming in the future is really exciting. So thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilmember Kasberg.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll second what Councilmember Fox said. The retreat that we had last night was not the most exciting of topics, but we made it fun. It was a good time. So it is a good team that we have, and I do enjoy working with them. So thank you all for that. Springtime, we had our fall summer, and now the cold and the rain is back. But nevertheless, we've been having quite a few events going on in town. We had the senior auction that was fairly well attended, but they did raise a decent amount of money for the senior class, so that was a lot of fun. We had opening ceremonies for the Little League last weekend. Sold a lot of pancakes and got to introduce the teams, but unfortunately it rained too much, so nobody played any games. Well, we got part of one softball game in, but and our mayor got to throw out the first pitch. He's a lot better at throwing baseballs than he is softballs, but eventually it got to the catcher.
He thought he was at a bowling event first.
Yeah, it's not a bowling ball. It was a.
We need a
softball.
video
Why
next
did
But he
year.
got to keep it.
Video.
He got to keep it. So thank you, Mayor, for showing up and doing that. And those events continue. So next Saturday is the Lions Pancake Breakfast and the Easter egg hunt. It is at the high school this year, not at the Holly Park and the community center. So make sure everybody knows to go to the high school. Yeah, I'm looking forward to spring. We got some really good events lined up. There's a really good crew of people that are working on the Our Days celebration. There's a lot of new people involved, and we're learning some lessons as we go along. But I think it's going to be a pretty spectacular celebration. So I think that's all I have. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Councilmember Boyle.
Good evening. I just wanted to say personal thanks to Senator Braun, Rep. Barno, and Rep. Ed Orcutt as well. Thank you for all you guys did, and also to the to our lobbyists for all the work that they did. Gosh, I had something on top of my head. I'm like blanking right now, but yeah, I don't know. Everything's going good, I guess. I'm gonna just ditto what everybody else said again, and good to see everybody.
Thank you.
I may interrupt again because I totally blanked.
Councilmember Leija.
It's good to see everyone here tonight, and I always thank people that come and speak. I'd like to see more people come and speak. I got really excited that Podunks Pizza had their first annual celebration for being a year since they opened. It's a great pizza place. They had live music inside and outside. I was there when it first opened. I didn't stay for the whole event, but it looks like a great event and lots of fun.
I did.
It's been really fun to see all the different things that they do. Like on Thursday nights in the summer, it's a motorcycle night, and I think they've done bingo night, and they just do a lot of fun activities. The other thing I attended this week was the fourth in the series of the PUD community engagement, and they shared a lot of different things. One is they're beefing up their cybersecurity. They explained about how they go around and trim the trees to keep them from taking down power lines. On their substation, where you see the fence around it and the trees around it. And those big, heavy, they weigh several tons, sit on cement slabs where they're going to be bolting those down, because when you have an earthquake, those can vibrate off and could affect our electricity. So a lot of good information. It was 2 hours long, so I'm not going to repeat everything they said. I still encourage people to attend these new businesses, Willow and Fern and La Petite. You can get a great facial there, and they haven't been there even a year yet. So I encourage people to that. And Living Well Therapeutics just opened last September. So it's a good place to go. And there's lots of other businesses too, but I like to highlight the newer ones that are a year or less open, because they need your business, and they're great places. And the other thing is the arts. We've been working on having art meetings every Monday night for weeks now. And so I will be able to update you more on what's going on with that in the next council meeting.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Cerveny.
Thank you, Mayor. Great thing about being the last one in line is most everything has already been said. But once again, I'd like to chime in and thank everyone for coming once again and being engaged in the community. We do appreciate hearing your opinions and your ideas and your concerns about the community and guiding us as we evaluate what we need to do as council and elected officials. I would also like to encourage everyone, it's not just up to the elected officials to thank their congressman and elected officials. You can do it very easily by going online, and they have their emails there that you can quickly just thank them for everything that they've done for our small community over the years and this past legislative session, and keep them engaged with knowing just how much of an impact it has to you as local citizens. So thank you once again for coming.
Thank you. I do want to make a statement because I heard quite a few of you talking about the community and the volunteers in this community. It's unheard of. You go visit other towns, they don't have the volunteers, the people stepping up to make this community what it is, right? It's important that we embrace that and encourage it to grow. So if you know people that want to volunteer and get involved in their community to help make it better, there are plenty of organizations in this town that you can join.
And it's kind of funny because you see the same people at every single event.
Yeah.
And all the same volunteers. And so it's awesome when we see different faces and different people. I mean, all of us have busy lives, but we find ways to give back in other ways. I guess that was kind of something I was thinking about earlier. So thanks for bringing that up. But we've been busy. All of us have been busy. We've had legislative recaps that I didn't attend. And I mean, I was leadership training, there's been talking about the volunteer board that we're working on, work sessions, retreats. There's just a ton. It takes a lot of work, but it's always great when you get to see some new people pop in and get to hear their ideas as well. So
now you all understand why I poke him a little bit about that ledge session update, right?
I was in leadership training so I could take over Tom's job.
All right, we do have a staff report, and tonight's staff report, Commander Sample, is tonight the first one? It is. All right.
Yes,
Your
tonight is the first
inaugurational police report tonight, March 27th.
Yes.
All
Mr.
right.
Mayor, thank you for having me here. Council members, thank you for letting me speak. Before I move forward here, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to file a report on Councilmember Kasberg for talking about the softball baseballs in your arm, you can give me a call and I'll take a report for you, okay?
Can I press charges?
Well, we'll have to see what happens there. So going
Kind of
back
a
to
civil problem.
kind of a civil problem, yes. Going to the report here, some of the highlights here for the month of February here. I have a pie chart up. If you can see, we have a few of the APS reports that have happened. One reckless endangerment report that went down, restraining order violation, a couple of threats and harassment calls. One of the harassments is actually one there, but one started in February, but it's kind of moved over into March through the investigation and whatnot. So it'll probably be double reported until we kind of get that one under wraps there. The animal problem, there was an animal problem. On the next page over, it has all the descriptions of everything. And there was a theft there of a credit card or check fraud that was cashed by someone else who wasn't made. So we're trying to be pretty proactive over here with the department. I've appreciated all the walk-ins that have come in and report things and give us their concerns, and I followed up on them, even from the last meeting, some of the traffic concerns. We've sat on some of the different corners just to kind of see what was going on. The speed trailer in the back of the precinct, we had a check last week. That's working very well. So we might just deploy that out in the city during the times of some of these high traffic areas, just to kind of give people reminders of their speeds and kind of keep the safety in check there. Right there with the livestock reports or the animal reports, we can see pit bull, bit of livestock was gone before they even knew what was going on. The hit and run traffic was right here at the roundabout. Mustang hit another car, left off. We didn't have any viable information on it. The threats and the harassment, one of the ones was a threat towards a church that was made by, we found the person was a homeless person from somewhere in Vancouver, living down within the core down there. They called up here. Adult Protective Service, we've had quite a few calls about those. None have really have blossomed into anything large, but we're kind of keeping our eye on those. And what else do I want to say here? We did the violation of the restraining order right there, protection order. That was taken care of. As for the calls, they're actually going pretty good. If we go to the next slide. Calls for service, there were 40, roughly about 40 self-initiated. The other community ones come from various sources, which could be anywhere from dispatch from, through dispatch from Cressa, knock on the front door, phone calls in, emails, whatnot. We follow up on all the things we're doing. Just to kind of give you a number there. The January numbers were from Bob, from Chief Richardson, and the February numbers are from us. So I'm happy that we're getting our self-initiated work up, and I plan to get that even higher than that so we can be out in the town and taking care of our business. Our next slide. The amount of reports that are coming in so far, there's been 16 here for just for the month of February right there, which is more than the month of January. I don't think that numbers of reports are really telling to what you're doing as far as in the community, but it's just to say that we are documenting things as they come about, so we have a better understanding of what the community's needs are and where our problems lie. Next slide is going to be reports by year. There's only 2 months on there. So the month of January, we had 2023, there were 23 reports. For 2024, there were 9. The February of 23, there were 11. And like we were already up to 16 for there. So this will be a running chart that we'll keep throughout the year, just to kind of see where we are as far as keeping reports and accountability for our actions and what we're investigating. And our last slide, I just want to say thank you to the community and the people here that have welcomed me. Al, you're one of them, sir. He was eating his. Sorry about that. It's been a very nice experience to come here. I'm looking forward to working with you more. I urge the citizens, if you have something to report or you want to come in, come knock on the door, call me, send an email over to us. We'll look at everything. We'll send it out. We'll investigate it. And if need be, I'll go out there myself and make sure matters are handled. So I just thank everyone for the opportunity, and it's a very nice community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question. There was something going around on Facebook yesterday. I think there's like an aggressive dog or something. I know we have animal control that we can contact or whatever, but I mean, if people are immediately trying to mitigate the situation, is it proper to call you guys, or should we go? There's people asking, they kept commenting on where the dog was at through the town and saying it was aggressive.
Absolutely. And I just heard about this, and so I didn't know. I'm not part of the Facebook group for the center. I guess I'll kind of join in so I can monitor what's going on.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. I won't make any personal comments, I tell you that now. So,
yeah.
but,
Say, this is my personal opinion.
Yeah. Keep your dog on a leash.
I'm learning.
No, but I do think it needs to be reported. If not, we're going to start working really closely with the code enforcement, and then start going out there and start alerting him to more of the calls and getting him up, backing him up and helping him through his situation. So, and especially if dogs are out being aggressive, attacking people or livestock, we can't have that. That's, owners need to be responsible for their animals. If you can't train them not to be that way, then you need to ensure you protect others by locking them up or keeping them on a leash and just taking care of your animals. But absolutely, please call me. I love to document it on paper just so we have something.
Yeah.
So if we need to go back later on, we could say, we have
There's
talked to
evidence.
you this date, this date, and this date. Now we're going to take hardcore enforcement action on it.
Yeah.
Commander
Yes.
Sample and I were talking about that, and we are going to try to do some type of education to the community about
Yes.
the steps they need to do if that happens.
Nice. Good. Yeah.
Maybe
That
we
seems to
could
happen.
post the animal control number on the reader board or something. I mean, I know we all have Google phones and stuff, but
Well, are they the first contact if there is an issue like that? Or do we have to contact local, and then when it's a issue multiple times, then you get animal control involved? Or what does that look like?
I think animal control can be called right off the bat, and it does need to come through us, but
Okay.
in the event of their absence, we would always be more than happy to help out. And then if something starts to escalate and progress, then I think we should get involved to kind of, if not, hey, keep the peace, document the situation, and go back to revisit it later on, because you never know when you're going to need this type of documentation to go back to say, hey, we've taken these substantial steps in order to help you, but you have to be able to help yourself a little bit in certain situations. So
Obviously, there's a difference between a dog that's loose and a dog that is loose and showing aggressive behavior, right? Because we have a lot of dogs that are
Absolutely.
loose. We're not always calling animal control, but if there are some that seem to get loose a lot. So even though the dogs aren't being, having behavior issues, they're kind of a nuisance because they're, roaming the streets and.
311 or 911.
yeah, you can call 311 if you like. And, and I've had a lot of walk-in traffic just come up to the door and say, hey, I want to report this. And I'll take the information and I can pass it on to the proper people so we can take care of this. But even for a loose dog, I mean, that's the owner's responsibility to
I agree.
shore up your backyard, your fence, or whatever it takes to ensure your dog doesn't get out. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of education.
Well, one of the posts said that the woman posted that she was at the Chevron and the dog bit her. And she took a picture of it.
Oh.
So that's
Yeah,
being
that's,
bitten
that
is
would
another
not,
story.
I would.
Any other questions or comments for Commander Sample or Chief? You have something you were going to say?
Yeah, I did. I was going to say something. I think we are very lucky to have Commander Sample out here. I've known him for a very long time, and he's as genuine as you get. It's what you see and hear here is how he is 24/7. So thank you. You've been a good friend, and I really appreciate that you're out here now.
Thank you, sir.
And
tell
I
you,
say the same thing because I've known you a long time too.
Yes, Marty, thank you.
Great guy.
There is one thing I am upset about, though. The softball game got rained out yesterday. I was going to stop by and watch some Center softball, and it got rained out, so that's the only thing so far.
Bummer.
Lots more chances.
Yeah, that's
Lots
fun.
more chances.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Any other questions or comments for Commander Sample? Thank you, Commander. Great report. Next up, we have Administrative Services Staff Report. Maria Swinger-Inskeep will be presenting. Maria?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The sales tax revenue from February was up to 64,000 over 56,000 a year ago. Also, the gambling tax revenue is up slightly over last month, always a good sign. I want to echo what you all said about the community volunteers. I have a little blurb on there about community events, but this week Meals on Wheels hosted their first a town hall in Vancouver for the community partners to come, and it was great to see some of our volunteers, Nelda and Judy, showed up, and so we could not do the community events that we do without our volunteers. So they are a vital part of our community. If you are currently receiving a low-income discount for your sewer and stormwater bill, please note that you have until the end of May to get that information, your 2023 tax information to us, or your rate will increase. So just come in the office, we'll make a copy of those financial documents. And also, if you have any questions, you can contact Desi. And if you're not on low income, but you think you may be, please come in and we will look up and see if we can get you all a discount. And then I am sad to say that we will have another vacant position. Our front desk person, Laura, has resigned and she will be leaving us here in a couple of weeks. And so if you know of any good candidates, then have them apply. It is posted on our website. Any questions, Council?
No, thank you for the report.
Appreciate it.
And we're not chasing employees out, just so you guys know.
Oh, I know. I was wondering if
Yeah.
Maria was being kind of, a little too demanding.
When I said I'm sad to say, I thought,
exactly.
oh.
Yeah.
She was offered a different position in another city, and it was a very good opportunity for her.
Nice. Yeah.
It seems to be the musical chairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet that happens a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
All they need is,
Brian,
2
look
years
away.
experience here and then.
Brian, look the other way.
Yeah, Brian.
Commander, can we press charges against him as well?
Yeah, He's fleeing La Center for Puerto Rico. He's fleeing, yeah.
We do have an ordinance tonight, ordinance 2024-2, building code amendments and public hearing. So let's see, Brian Cast will be presenting. Mr. Brian.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Currently, the city is operating under the 2018 state and international building codes. However, there is a new version of the code that was updated or adopted, by the Washington State Building Code Council. It was actually originally adopted back in 2023. There was some controversy and discussions about some of the elements of the code, particularly the energy code. So as they worked through that, they delayed implementation. But now it has come to pass that we need to adopt the 2021 building code. So essentially all this ordinance before you this evening does is update our code, section 1505.030, to change the various code references from the 2018 code to the 2021 code. There are also a couple of minor changes in the code and the fire section in particular, changing grade and clarifying some building heights for when sprinklers are allowed. Clark Cowlitz Fire Rescue also has a larger list of fire code amendments that they would like to work with the city on. But based on the breadth of that, the time that we had to make this adopt, and then the impacts to other sections of the code, that some of those fire codes would require adjusting or repealing, we suggested that come forward before the council as a separate ordinance in the future. So relatively straightforward, mostly just updating a year here and adopting the 2021 building code. I'm happy to answer any questions and recommending that the council hold a public hearing for this ordinance and then consider adoption.
Brian, can you explain to him the delay in passing these building codes? Because I do know the 2018 didn't pass until 2021. Now we're in 2024 and it's the 2021.
Yeah, so there's always a couple year lag. The International Building Code puts together these codes. The year is when they adopt the code, and then it takes a while for it to filter down through the state level and for the State Building Code Council to adopt those. Again, as I mentioned, the energy code in particular, there's some more insulation requirements that come with the new energy code. And there was also some certain types of natural gas appliances for commercial uses specifically are identified and prohibited in the new energy code. Doesn't apply to residential, doesn't apply to all natural gas. But I know that was a point of discussion at the state level. But now that they've gone through all that and the state's adopted it, it's sort of on us and we're required to adopt it. Otherwise, similar to, some of the other state requirements that we've talked about in the past, if we're not in compliance, then we can potentially lose out on some of our state shared revenues. So.
Any questions, comments?
Nope.
Nothing? All right. This is an ordinance, so we will be opening it to a public hearing at 7:43. I'd like to open that up to the audience. Please stick to the topic or the ordinance at hand. State your name and address.
Albin, La Center here. So no natural gas. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but they want, I think, all homes now, all those affordable housings are going to be built with electricity only. And when, as Mr. Medvedji, the chair of Clark County Council, says there will be another pandemic, I call it a plandemic, that when electricity goes out our grid and stuff, and it will, there's no natural gas. So these people are going to be locked into their apartments or all this stuff with no natural gas. Now, I didn't used to care much for natural gas, but I love it now. I think it burns clean and I do use it. So my question would be, what's going to happen during a pandemic, during a gray out, blackout, whatever you want, when we don't have any electricity? These people will not be able to heat their homes, talking about with children, and they will not be able to cook. To me, it sounds like more chaos, knowing what I know, what's right around the bend here with an overpopulation, I might add. So I want to know why no natural gas, and is La Center going to have no natural gas in these homes here, any home, or any business, I might add? The next question I would have would be, if this is passed, does that mean that there will be higher buildings? I want to know if there's going to be more than a 2-story building around here. Thank you.
Thank you. Please step up to the mic. Yes. Yeah, we stick to the ordinance at hand. Yeah.
Alcala 152 West 15th Street. You know, for someone who spent a great deal of their life, you know, in the military, you know, where things were passed down and you just snap to. You know, I just get this feeling when I hear, you know, every 2 or 3 years they update these international, you know, and I always say, do we really need to do in lockstep what somebody from up above is shoving down our little throats? You know, I'm really not clear on that. And, you know, I'd like y'all to think on that. You know, are we just following lockstep, you know, from what coming down from on high? You know, maybe it's good advice, I don't know, but see, I can just come up with these ideas, you know, now I fall back on, you guys gotta do due diligence, you know, because you're elected officials, you know. See, I can just, like I say, I could be totally wrong, you know, but it's you guys that, you know, when 6 months down the road, I thought, you guys voted, but, no, thank you, God bless America.
Thank you, Al. And I knew the due diligence was coming. Any other public comments, please step up to the mic, stay to the ordinance at hand, state your name and address for the record. Yeah, we're getting public opinion on the ordinance.
Okay, I don't know about the ordinance, but I know about building. And I know that our environment, we're killing ourselves with not using renewable. I think any building should be made with solar panels, built to capture the rain so that the water is free, that you have a basement filled with water because it rains a lot here. You can have the buildings be self-sufficient by solar panels and wind because we got a lot of rain here. But I mean, we have to, I understand natural gas. I also know that some certain houses have blown up because of it. So that's why I think fireplaces are a good idea. Maybe some people don't like that because of the environment, but at least solar heat. So they've even got places in Portland and stuff where they'll pay you to go solar. So maybe when you're building, you can have that in mind. I don't know how far we are from the rivers, but by simply putting a generator in the river, you get energy free from the river. So, I mean, yeah, I understand, you know, being whatever, understand when the lights go out, when the power, you know, lines get cut. Well, you don't need a power line being cut when you have your own energy, your own self-sustaining house. And I think that houses being built should be self-sustainable through natural environmental energy coming from either the wind or the sun or the river. There's more than just, you know, one way to skin a cat. You get energy from a lot of different places. So that's just what, you know, you say stay on the topic. That's what I'm saying. You want people to come move here and feel safe. How about making the rivers pay their own electricity for free? Because all you need is a good generator that's flowing off the energy off the water. It's free. So you don't have people struggling to pay their heat bills in the winter because, you know, I mean, Tesla, if anybody remembers Tesla, he had the idea for free energy, and it is possible. We don't have to kill ourselves every winter trying to come up with the bill for the heating bill that's electric. We can get free electricity. We just have to, it's worth it. I think it was the Netherlands or something that said, we're putting 10 generations worth of money into this dam. Well, guess what? In 20 generations, everybody's living free because the dam that they paid for then is now giving everybody free electricity. So I'm just saying there's another, think differently when it comes to energy because it's out there. God gave it to us. There's a sun, there's a wind, there's a river. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Okay, any of those calling in, please press *6 to unmute yourself, state your name and address, and please stay to the ordinance at hand. Any callers, quick? There's 2. Okay, clerk, are there any public comments to be read?
There are no comments to be read.
At 7:49, I'd like to close the public comments and open this up to council. Council, any comments, questions? And actually, before you do that, Brian, can you repeat that again? What happens if we don't pass some of these ordinances?
Yeah, and maybe the city attorney can elaborate, but from my understanding, this is passed down from Department of Commerce. They administer this program similar to the Growth Management Act, and so the penalties are sort of similar for lack of compliance, state shared revenue, state taxes. Do you have anything more specific to add to that, Bronson? Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Well, the state law requires that we adopt the International Building Code, but it does allow us to make certain variances to it. And you'll see in the ordinance, we do have some amendments from what the IBC provides for. But if you're going to amend the IBC, you have to have your performance standard has to be equivalent to or greater than the IBC. So there's some ability to vary, but your standard has to be at least as strong.
And what's the penalties for not passing?
Invalidation of your ordinance in your code.
Okay. Are they able to withhold tax revenue or anything like that?
It's more a matter of your being able to process building permits.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're not compliant.
Questions or comments? Conversation in between or amongst each other?
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
I have a little bit of information here that I can read. It's provided by the Cascade Natural Gas related to the building code and gas specifically here, and I'll just read a couple of excerpts. With the 2021 Washington State Energy Codes, the State Building Code Council has voted to approve limitations on the use of natural gas in new commercial buildings in Washington. At the local level, there are no restrictions on the use of natural gas in residential buildings, but there are limitations for natural gas space and water heaters in new commercial buildings. And that would also include multifamily construction 4 stories and higher. So again, it doesn't apply to single family residential construction or smaller multifamily projects. It would apply to larger multifamily projects or commercial projects. And this code doesn't do anything to change our building height restrictions or anything like that.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I'll just throw out there that I think everybody that came up and spoke tonight has some good points. I tend to agree that the state and sometimes the federal government kind of puts us in a bad spot because they put out these ordinances and say you have to do at least this, if not more restrictive. And that's kind of the opposite of what the Constitution is supposed to allow. But since it has more to do with building codes and things like that, I think that's how they get away with it. So, personally, I like natural gas and houses, and I wouldn't want to live in a house that didn't have natural gas. I have concerns that some commercial cooking equipment could potentially be a lot more expensive if you don't have a natural gas option, which could make it very difficult for businesses to get started. I would assume that if an existing structure has natural gas, it would be grandfathered in, so they wouldn't have to remove it. But anybody building new construction would have to purchase the more expensive models. Most of the stuff that uses natural gas wouldn't work if the electricity goes out anyway. But if you did have your own solar power or backup generator or something like that, you could still make it work. So again, I just think there's been a good point made by everybody tonight, and I don't like just having to fall in line with what the state or the federal authorities are throwing out at us, but sometimes they don't give folks like us up here a choice. So I appreciate the fact that people are willing to get up and say that and speak their mind. And I wanted you to know that some of us definitely agree, but yet we're still going to have to cast a vote tonight that doesn't put the city in jeopardy. So thank you.
And I have to agree with what Casey said, that I like my natural gas. This is my personal opinion. And you said it well. But we shouldn't, but we have to pass this so the city doesn't get in trouble.
Any other questions or comments? Conversations? The public side has been closed at this time. Thank you.
Mayor, can I move to authorize you to sign the ordinance 2024-02 adopting the Washington State Building and Specialty Codes, including the state adopted amendments?
It's been moved. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is an ordinance, so I would like a roll call. Clerk, can we please have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Kasberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Boyle,
Yes.
Councilmember Leija,
Yes.
Councilmember Cerveny.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Ordinance pass. All right. Council, is there any unfinished business tonight that you'd like to bring up? Any new business? All right. Can I get a motion to close the meeting, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded very quickly.
Wow. Doesn't even breathe.
Aye.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you, council. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Have a great evening.